Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Welcome back to the show. We are with our divorce diva. That's mydivorcediva.com. Liesel Darby joining us again here. Excited to have her as a certified divorce coach from Crown Coaching. How are you?
I'm fabulous. How are you?
I'm great. Excited to see you again. Always a pleasure speaking with you because you're helping so many people and you're just a kind person. And I got that takeaway from you last time. So tell us a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind, for those new timers out there who are just tuning in.
Okay. Well, first of all, so happy to be here again. I had such a fun time last time. So I am Liesel Darby, and I'm a certified divorce coach. Actually, I'm certified in alternative dispute resolution. So the whole thing I help my clients with is how to keep conflict to a minimum and how to manage it and engage in it productively. Because if you're going through divorce, there's going to be conflict. Doesn't have to be a bad thing, just means there's two different opinions in play. And so if you can get that under control, then you can hopefully move forward in a productive way, especially if you're still having to deal with an ex.
And you're helping mostly women, right?
Mostly women,
because
yeah.
it's just what it is. But you've had male clients too. Nothing wrong with that. But how would you say you're very different? Because, what is your perspective from the divorce side here of coaching? I mean, you're saving time, energy, effort. Explain the process to us, why it's beneficial to have someone like you in their corner.
Okay. So counterintuitively, it actually saves you money to use a divorce coach when you're going through the divorce process. Mainly because, first of all, there's a lot of emotions in play. And frankly, your lawyer doesn't want to deal with it. They're not trained to deal with it, and they want to do their lawyer things, right? So they'll let you talk to them at their hourly rate, but it's more just going to be venting to them. Well, when you work with a divorce coach, we can help you really get a handle on how to manage that so that when you're making these big decisions, as you are when you're going through divorce, you're not coming from a place of anger or fear, anxiety, all those big emotions that come into play that can really kind of take over, kind of hijack your brain, and you might behave in ways that you might regret a little bit later. So a divorce coach, especially one that's trained like I am, can really help you to manage those so you are coming from a more logical, calm place to make these decisions. We still talk about emotions. The focus is on how do we move forward so you don't get stuck, because it's very easy to get stuck when these emotions, especially like the ones I think about most are like if you're very, very angry. If betrayal is part of this equation in any way, there might be feelings of revenge, I'm just going to dig in my heels and I'm not going to cooperate here. But conflict is what makes divorce expensive. So you can do all that, but there's a price to pay. And if you can kind of get to the place where, we just need to make these decisions so we can go on our separate ways as calmly as possible. And especially if there are kids involved, you now have to move from being a married couple to being co-parents. And your kids are at stake here. So you have to figure out how are you going to move forward with this so that you're not damaging your children. They can have a relationship with both of their parents that is healthy and loving. Even if they weren't a good marriage partner, that doesn't mean that they can't be a good parent, right?
That's so true.
And even if there are some things that get in the way of that, this will still help you to figure out, how do I communicate with this person? How do I, not let the small things get in the way, pick my battles, what hills am I willing to die on and which ones do I just need to let go of? All those things that come into play. And a divorce coach can really help you with that.
Now, is a divorce coach the same as an alternative dispute resolution coach or no?
Not necessarily. I had specialized training for this. A lot of people, the truth about coaching is you can hang out your shingle, anybody can do it and say you're a coach. And you can choose whatever you want to specialize in. People do it all the time. It's even life coaches. Like I'm a certified life coach, and I decided to specialize in divorce after I went through my divorce, but I didn't have specialized divorce training. So there's all kinds of people out there putting themselves out as, divorce coaches, and that's fine. But you might want to, be a little picky and do a little bit of research, like what kind of training did they get to do this? Because anybody can put themselves out and say, I'm a divorce coach and be in business.
Got it. Well, this is amazing because the benefits of what you offer, and it really is a time saving time saver, an expense saver, and it's just you're doing more than even an attorney can do. I could say, right? Maybe they know the paperwork and stuff, but like you're even helping them develop like what's to happen after the divorce. The attorney leaves you when you're done, right? Takes your money, does the contracts, but like you're also guiding women on what to do next, like their next steps in life, which could be scary, right? I mean,
it can be terrifying.
Yes.
Yeah, because if you haven't gone through this, you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know anything. I'm also teaching communication skills that you can use with anybody. I'm teaching conflict resolution skills, which you can use with anybody. So they get a lot out of it. And also, I forgot to say, but as far as saving time with an attorney, I can also help you figure out how to use your attorney most efficiently and the time that you spend with them. So you're not, wasting money. So, but yeah, back to your point, there is a lot of fear.
Yes.
And especially if you've never gone through this, how would you know? How do you know? And it's fear of the unknown, right? That's what people are afraid of because if you don't have a clue, and just think about it, your life probably is going to look a lot different on the other side of this, and even going through this process than what you are in now. Yeah. And even if it's really bad now, which it probably is because you're getting divorced, right? Yeah. This is not working on some level. That they say you're more comfortable with the devil you know than the one that you don't.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people stay in bad situations, or even just ones that just aren't working. Maybe it's not terrible, but there's no closeness, there's no growth, there's no, support. But they're married because it might seem easier than taking that drastic step and making some big changes that's gonna affect people pretty bigly.
Got it.
I just made up a word in a big way.
Yeah. Wow. Well, let me ask you, for today's show, we've talked already about Crown Coaching. What specifically did you want to highlight for today for everyone?
Today, I tried to be clever here and come up with a title called The ABCs of Divorce, the Emotions of Fear, Guilt, and Hope. So I went A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. Yeah. But the feelings are real. And I think that's one thing. When we talk about divorce, it's usually about all of the logistical kinds of things that, how are we going to split up the assets? How are we going to figure out parenting time with the kids? And we don't often talk about the emotions that are involved. Yeah. And it's really easy because they're scary, right? And people are not comfortable talking about their emotions, generally speaking, right? And especially like we have to compartmentalize, right? Like if you're going through divorce, you have to somehow manage your emotions when you're at work. You can't just sit at your desk and cry all day. Your friends, and family, they're wonderful for support and you need them, but there's limits to how helpful they can be for you. And you're going to have to talk about this a lot. I would say talk about it till you're sick of talking about it. But your friends and family probably don't have the bandwidth to handle that. So there's all kinds of things. But what I wanted to say about fear is, first of all, it's normal. It's a perfectly normal feeling that you're going to have. I remember when my ex told me he wanted a divorce, I was absolutely terrified.
Yeah, I can imagine. I've never been, but I've been through relationships. But this is like, and this fear of it and moving on. And do you mind sharing a little bit of your experience? What you
not at all.
Talk
about it all day.
You seem like an open book. I know. I
have an open book. Yeah. So I remember, the hindsight's 2020, right? So there had been signs for a long time. But when he actually sat me down at the kitchen table on a Thursday morning and said, I want a divorce. I haven't loved you for years. I want out. And I really felt like they say that just hit by a 2x4, like, what are you talking about? And the fear for me came again from the unknown, because at the time I didn't have a job. And And I'm just like, how am I
How
going
am I going to
to,
do this? Where am I
um,
going to go? And what if you don't have family or friends?
right,
And then if
right.
you do have family and friends, do you really want to ask them and feel like pathetic, like, oh my God, I have nothing, I have no one? Like, I can only imagine.
Yeah. So I had to, but again, fear, one of the things that fear is just unanswered questions. So once you start to get the answers to your questions, that fear can abate. And once I found out like what spousal support was going to look like, and and then I had to find a place to live, a safe place. As a single woman, safety is, kind of shoots up to the top of the list. Like what could I actually afford? Those kinds of things. I felt better, but those questions were not answered immediately. So I just had a lot of fear, and I literally shook for 48 hours. I mean,
Yeah.
literally, even it stopped a little bit when I was asleep, but the minute I woke up, I started shaking again. It was
Oh,
just not controllable. I couldn't eat. I would throw up even when there was nothing to throw up. I mean,
yeah.
it was kind of rough there for a while. Um, but yeah, but as you go through the divorce process and you're talking to an attorney or a mediator, and you're getting the answers to what is this actually going to look like, you'll feel a lot better as you get those things nailed down because now you know what you're dealing with,
Yeah.
right? Because I always say you can deal with whatever's in front of you. You
Yeah.
you will figure out some way to handle that. It's just when it's in the future and you don't know, that's where anxiety and fear live.
Yeah. Well, there's always a way, of coming out of things. And I know people always say, oh, time, 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 time. Time does heal, but it takes a while. And to get back, as you said, like on that bike again, right? To get back behind that wheel, driving that car, it's going to take time. And with your process and, with Crown Coaching, how long does the process take, right? In a sense, usually, how long are you working with a client before like everything gets finalized? I mean, could you give us like an idea about how long it could take? It's probably different for everyone, but
Yeah.
so we know what we're up against and how this works.
So really, the time that a divorce process takes really depends on how much conflict is there,
Yeah.
right? Is that the more that you can agree on things, if you can sit down with a mediator, and I always say try mediation first if you can, because anything you can agree on with a mediator will hold up in court. It's a lot less expensive and it's your agreement, right?
Mm-hmm.
So um, let's see. So mine was actually really quick. If I just use myself as an example, he dropped the bomb like in early October of that year, and we were divorced on Christmas Eve.
Mm-hmm.
So like 3 months. But actually, when I was thinking about this today, from the time we filed until our divorce was final was 3 weeks. That's
Wow.
very
Whoa.
fast. I mean,
What?
that is
I've never heard of
that is
that.
insane. That's insane. But we didn't have kids, so we didn't have to do that part of it. And we just made our agreements very quickly, and it was done. And it just happened that the courts were able to get that on the docket that soon, which I was stunned. We were both like, okay. Um, but it can take usually like when so a mediator as well. So the average length of time that people work with me in mediation is usually average about maybe 3, 4 sessions, and these are only like 2 hours at a time.
Yeah.
So if they can agree, right? And it's not to say that they agree on every little thing right away, but we can work through it pretty quickly. And then they can file. So we're talking maybe 2, 3 months, and then they can file. And it just depends on how blocked the court dockets are before a judge can actually look at it and sign off on it. But you're talking maybe you could be divorced within probably less than 6 months if that goes well. And then it's a whole different ballgame if you are using attorneys and going at it head to head and digging your feet in and all that stuff. Sometimes I have worked with women who had been going through the divorce process for 3 plus years.
Wow.
And those are when they're with a very challenging, I'm not going to say a diagnostic word here, but there are certain people who have a diagnosis,
Mm-hmm.
and those ones tend to be very difficult, and they take a lot longer and they cost a whole lot more money.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Wow. And you clearly have helped so many, over the years and continue to is, the joy that you get from this. Clearly, it's like you've walked in their shoes before. You really can empathize. There is so many benefits of being with you. And by the way, just to point out, you're located where specifically, but it really doesn't matter because you're working with people all over, right? You're doing virtual
Yeah.
sessions like this. You're in Cleveland, right?
Yes. Cleveland, Ohio. Yeah. Area.
Perfect.
Yep.
Good, good, good.
Yep.
And
So I only do mediations in Ohio, but I can do divorce coaching from anywhere because like Zoom
got
is,
it.
is the answer, right?
It really is. It is. It is. And what else about the process should we be aware of? And why is it good to have someone like yourself just holding your hand, guiding you along like this?
Okay. So another big emotion I want to talk about because this hits all of us is guilt. Right. So this is the G, my little
Hmm.
session here. Guilt, especially if you are the one who's initiating divorce.
Yeah.
You're going to be hit with a lot of guilt for breaking up a family. How are the kids? You might feel like you're ruining your kids' lives. You might be going against societal pressure, and you might be going against family pressure too, especially if nobody else in your family is divorced or if they're very religious. You might be dealing with some heavy duty emotions with this.
Yeah.
And so, one of the things uh, you just kind of have to reframe things
Yeah.
in order to deal with this. But I had a client today actually right before this, and she was talking about how she's dealing with a lot of guilt right now because he is feeling so sad. Like it's just hitting him really hard right now. And I remind my clients that you are not responsible for their feelings.
No.
And as women, this hits us in a very different way. That's not the first time I've said that to one of my clients. And I remember the one woman, she just looked dumbstruck. She goes, "I'm not responsible for his feelings."
Yeah.
I'm like,
Oh.
"No, you are not. He's got his own feelings. You've got yours. Let him have his feelings. This is his journey." But as women, we're caretakers, right? And for so many of us,
We are.
especially if you were in like any kind of an abusive situation where you're walking on eggshells, you're really you're very careful of what the temperature of the room is, the emotional temperature of the room is, because you don't want to upset the apple cart, you don't want to make them mad, you want things to be calm, and you do feel like you are responsible for their feelings, right? And so when I'm telling them you're not, for some of it's like the light has broken through the clouds. There's like
Yeah.
this oh moment, and that's something that can take a while to get used to. It's not just a
Yeah.
one and done. Um,
Ah.
so there's that. And then I was talking to another client the other day. She was she was feeling a lot. She hasn't filed papers yet, and she had a 9-year-old son who was like, "Mom, why are you doing this? Why can't we be with Daddy? Why, don't do this." And she was feeling a lot of guilt because the kids are being impacted like this. And of course, a child doesn't know all the things that have gone on in that marriage that brought him to this place. And she was having a really hard time with that. And finally, I asked her, I said, "What do you think? How would you feel knowing that later on your child might feel guilty that you chose to stay in a bad marriage because of him?"
Yeah.
And she goes, "I never thought of it that way." You don't want your kids to have guilt that, yeah, my mom put up with all this crap because she didn't want me to have a bad life. But man, I really would rather we moved on and we can build a healthy life. And that hit her heart. She goes, "I've never thought of it from that point of view." It's always like, oh, we don't want to disturb the kids, keep everything,
Yeah. Hush, hush.
on even keel. But
Ah.
children are resilient, and I
Ah.
tell you what, they would rather have their parents be happy than stay together and be miserable. And kids know. You might think you're covering that up, but kids know.
Ah. That's so funny. I mean, it's not funny. As a child, I was the same way. My parents always fought, didn't get along, fighting in the house constantly. And my mom, she unfortunately passed almost 8 years ago now, and she never could leave him. And as an adult, even told her, like, what were you thinking? I got out at 18 as soon as I could, but it was always that I feel so bad. The kids, they didn't want, when my sister and my brother didn't want it. They were upset. And I was the one like, this is not, I can't do my schoolwork. I'm having trouble. I can't have friends over. Like, I, at a young age, wanted them divorced, but my mom was always too scared, worrying about, the guilt, the fear. And then my siblings who were, no, don't do that. Don't kick him out again. And it was like traumatizing every time he would go to like stay at my grandma's house because my mom would kick him out. It'd be like my siblings would cry about it. And like, I'd be like, I'm just glad he's not here because it's less chaos, but like, as a parent, you got to make that decision, what's best for you. And it's got to be the hardest thing. I live alone now. I guess I don't know, but like if I ever had to, like I have kids, I guess I'm used to it now. But like my heart breaks for those children, but they will be okay. And every doctor, I'm no doctor, tells you that's the best thing for them to do. They'll get it one day, Then my mom used to blame the fact, oh, well, now your brother, he's not doing well in school. Oh, he started using drugs. It's all because, I'm like, it's because you guys are fighting all the time and there's no role model in the house. Daddy is, doing illegal bad things and get at it. Get him out of here. It's hurting your kids more than you think it's helping by staying. It's not. It did everything opposite. But I'm sorry I had a rant there. My heart goes out to people. And the other side is those scared women out there. My mom was a stay-home mom. And I hate saying it like that, but because those careers are the hardest, but like didn't have a career to go out to get a job, wasn't allowed to drive, wasn't allowed to have a car.
Yeah.
Now she's going to get a divorce and like, what, I have no roof over her head. She has no savings. She has nothing in her name, nothing. And it's like a scary place to be.
That's really, you're hitting on all these major things that women go through. And part of what I would love to do at some point is to be able to get some kind of a program into schools, like all schools have some curriculum, starting even like fourth, fifth grade. First of all, that talks about what is a healthy relationship and what is an unhealthy relationship. Self-esteem, knowing that, you're totally complete all by yourself. It's not about having a boyfriend or a girlfriend to complete you. We need more conversations like that. But I also strongly think we have to start teaching girls, especially, you need to focus on education and be able to support yourself and not have to be stuck in a relationship because you have to financial
dependency. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is gonna tick off a lot of people, but I'm gonna say if you might not want to give up a career to be a stay-at-home mom. And I hate saying that. I do.
I
but
agree.
Because of the things I see, you're so vulnerable. If you don't have something to fall back on as an income, you're just a sitting duck. And we all go into the fairy tale of like love is forever, my marriage is forever. I talked to somebody today about the fairy tale. We were talking about this. I said, did you ever notice that they stop at the wedding day? Like fairy tales end, the happily ever after stops at the wedding day. There's nothing about 10 years later when nobody's talking to each other, or they're yelling, or somebody's complaining that they're never getting help with the kids. We don't get any of that stuff, right? The fairy tale stops at the wedding day, and it's always a prince is rescuing a princess. And I say, I'm going to do something here. I hope you don't mind. I'm going to say, ladies, put on your crown.
Yes.
Right? Put on your crown. I say, every woman, go on Amazon and buy yourself a crown. It's Go Crown Shopping.
I have an old Christmas hat that
works.
There's my Christmas hat crown.
Have something on your head that reminds you of who you are.
Thank
This
you.
reminds you of who you are, right? Your power. There's power in the crown. That's why I named it Crown Coaching, because there's power in this crown.
Thank
You have to remember who you are, and that's where your power comes from. And so often, again, as women, we tend to give our power away, right?
We do.
We just because
thank
we
you
love
for the
something else.
reminder, and I hope I find my crown. Are we back on again next week?
Oh yes, you have me for a while.
Beautiful.
Should I wear this every week?
Yes, I got to go find one now. My
Yes.
niece turned 15 the other night. She has one at the house. I got to try to get it this week because she wore it for her birthday pictures on Monday. So I'm like, oh, but it's beautiful and it's very fitting. And you're right. But when you have it on your head, it makes you really remember. It reminds you of
stand up
your power.
Well,
thank you for helping
differently.
so many. Thank you. Beautiful what you do. And I love your smile and your energy. And you've been through it. She's walked the walk of divorce. She's on the other side and making things happen. And that's going to be you. If you're out there listening, it will be. Not,
Can I talk? Do we have time? Can I talk about one last thing?
Well, we have 1 minute left. Go ahead.
1 minute.
Sorry.
Hope. That's the H in this, hope. I didn't want to leave it on doom and gloom. Things that your feelings are temporary. The situation is temporary. Okay, but get yourself some good support. If you're feeling really down, go do something nice for someone else. That'll make you feel better. Gratitude. Get some gratitude going. Appreciate everything good in your life because it's not. Divorce is a big cloud over your head, but it's not everything. And you can always find something to be grateful for. Write down 3 things before you go to bed. That's the best thing I can tell you to help yourself.
I love it. And I like the vision board aspect, those 3 things. Put them on Post-its, put them up, look at them in the morning, put them on the fridge. Yes. Thank you for all your positivity and helping so many women. And again, how do we contact you if we'd like to reach out to you, darling?
Please find me at mydivorcediva.com. And my contact information is there. I'd love to talk to you.
Thank you. Beautiful. Pleasure having you here. And I'm glad we get to connect again. We'll talk next time, okay?
Yes.
Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply STOP to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.